Go live. Hello and welcome to SiGNAL Radio. Hey!
Lunchtime.
Hello. We're back again. We're here for another week.
Woo!
12th week of lockdown completed. You get a special badge apparently.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
What is it?
Special badge. Says, lockdown survivor, 12 weeks. It's like a McDonald's thing. McDonald's is opened. Did you see that at the weekend?
God, the queues to get in. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I heard they were opening, I was excited because I wanted to go and get a McDonald's. And then I saw the queues and was like, I don't want it that much.
I know. I went and visited my dad on Saturday afternoon, and the McDonald's in Farnborough, it was all the way around, like the car park, and going back on itself. I was like, yeah, a burger, but really? People really been missing it that much?
Yeah.
Wow. Fair enough.
It's like that video of the kid when their mum turned around and said that he was going to have to eat her home cooked foods while he went on lockdown and he started crying.
I've got a topic that I want to talk about.
Okay.
Because it's been greatly concerning me. And it's haircuts.
Oh, don't even.
I mean, mine seems to have grown out not too badly, but I am king of the moose at the moment. I'm just keeping it, but I've got all these ends. Now, at the weekend, I shaved my wife's head. Not forcibly. I just want to, get hold her down. Look at this. So what are your top tips, Gareth, for keeping your hair coiffed properly?
So I don't really have any. I'm pretty much getting my dad to cut my hair, which is quite an interesting.
Oh, okay.
An interesting one. Yeah, I'm waiting for him to pull out the sandpaper and drill rather than the haircutters, to be honest.
So you have to stay on the right side of your dad, otherwise it will be a billiard ball.
Well, I'll just get like an inverted mohawk.
I've been monitoring people going out. We live in quite a busy street, and some of the haircuts. It's like either people are going for I'm just going to let it go until I can get to the proper professional person, or go on, what's the worst that can happen? I can tell you, the worst can really happen. Yeah, I saw somebody with what I could only think of as 3 haircuts in one. It was like a mullet, but shaved. I don't know how they'd achieved it. I wanted to take photographs, but they walked past too quick. And I was like, Jim, look. Disastrous.
Oh, terrible. Absolutely terrible. There are some proper haircut disasters out there. Massive haircut disaster. If you've had a haircut disaster, let us know. Comment. I want to see.
I want to see the photographs.
I want to see the bad haircut.
Send in those photos. So I want to talk about something else that's close to my heart. Something that I'm a bit kind of like, I don't want to say like I'm a nerd about it, but it really bothers me. White t-shirts. Okay, I love a nice crisp white t-shirt. Okay, and my only 2 white t-shirts, they've been whittled down. Only 2 white t-shirts. One doesn't fit anymore. It's like it's trying to go all the way around, but the arms are still straight. So it's weird. The other one got pinked in the wash. Everything else was white. It was the one t-shirt. I don't know what happened. So I've been looking for white t-shirts. Oh my. The criteria. It's got to be heavyweight. It's not got to have a label in the back. Nothing worse than a tickly label. And then you cut it, and then you've got a scratchy label.
Yeah.
Just the worst. Not cheap, so it doesn't do the whole twisty thing.
Yeah.
And that it's long enough that if you put your arms in the air, it doesn't pull out. Oh, shopping online for that is a nightmare. Nobody puts that criteria in their descriptions. They're always saying like ring spun. I don't even know what ring spun is. I wouldn't know ring spun from not ring spun.
No.
Is there anything that you particularly like are really kind of like, it's got to be this way or else I'm not,
I don't know. Most of my clothes are probably like ridiculously tight. I kind of realised. I like to have like this one. This is quite a nice baggy top, but I realised going through my wardrobe that that a lot of my clothes are almost like a second skin.
Now, can one ask, is that intentional, or were they used to be baggy and lockdown eating?
Okay. Don't get me wrong. There's a my lockdown body is probably on point. Let's it's
Yeah, on fleek.
it's
On fleek
yeah,
with the
on
with the
fleek. Yes, that's it. It's
yeah,
I have maybe slightly
expanded.
expanded for lockdown, but that's the whole point. But no, because they were all kind of tight tops beforehand, so it makes it even worse now. It's not a good look. Not
Yeah,
a good look.
we watched Ghostbusters on Friday. We do the secret cinema thing where we watch, a film and everybody else is watching, and we just text backwards and forwards with family members. And I looked at the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and I thought I was looking in a mirror. These suits can't cover a multiple of sins. Let's walk away from that. None of us are coming out of this any good. We've got some news though about future guests. Future guests booked in. We've got Martina from Bosk coming along to talk to us about all of the things she's doing with the White Hill and Borden Regen Company in and around Borden, and that's happening on the 7th of June. She's booked in. I spoke to her yesterday.
July, Stu.
Pardon?
It's the 9th of June at the moment. So do you mean the 7th?
I mean the 7th of July. God, every day. It's like Groundhog Day, isn't it? Like every day. It's like I only know the weekends because I'm drunk. That's the only difference.
The weekend doesn't count as a Wednesday, Stu.
I've read the 4-Hour Work Week. I'm going to write a book called The 5-Day Drunk Week.
Yes, I like it.
So we've got Martina on the 7th of July, the first week in July. But, drum roll, we've got the big boss from White Hill and Borden Regen, James Childs, coming in on the 21st of July.
Oh,
whoop, whoop.
Exciting.
Yeah. So if you've got a question that you would like us to ask, please do send it in. Happy to ask James the questions. Eager to find out like some news, some progress. Apparently he's going to be telling us things that are coming up and things that are happening. So looking forward to that. But yep.
So I have to make sure I'm on my best behaviour.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We have to like.
That's it. Bow as he comes in.
Yeah. Mr. Childs.
I don't think you can curtsy on a Zoom.
Just like that. There we go. As a Zoom curtsy.
Yeah.
Right. Enough of that. Who have we got today as a guest?
Well, today we have someone super fantastic on today.
Yep.
I can say today so many times.
Today.
So not only are they one of the SiGNAL residents, but they are also all about community, which is good. It is the wonderful Janet from Community First.
Woo! Hello, Janet. Welcome to SiGNAL Radio.
Hi.
Hello.
Nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you
too.
Long time no see. For 12 weeks, is it?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Long time.
It is a very long time. And have you had any haircut disasters?
No, it's looking very long, and my daughter did my roots for me, and so I'm thinking now maybe I don't need to go to the hairdressers.
See, yeah.
Saves me a fortune.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. No, I think women, if we've got longer hair, it's a lot easier for us, isn't it, than you guys? You can just sort of shave yours off.
I get. Well, I can see it.
It's easy for you.
Yeah, it's like that though, because if you've got long hair and it grows a little bit longer, if you've got short hair.
I just tie it up all the time. It's easy.
Perfect. So, Janet, who are you and where are you from? Tell us all.
Oh, right. Okay. So, my name is Janet Duggan. Like you've just mentioned, I'm based at SiGNAL. I work for Community First. I'm the Business and Volunteering Engagement Manager. So, essentially, what that means is I manage the volunteer service. I also am responsible for business engagement. And I also manage the marketing team. So I've got quite a big brief, as you can imagine.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know how much your listeners know about Community First, but we've got about 140 staff. We've got about 160, I think it is, volunteers, which over the last 12 weeks has gone up quite significantly. So that was pre-COVID. So Community First, we're all about supporting communities and the not-for-profit organisations and social enterprises. So that is, we can do that in terms of offering advice on funding. It might be a group wants to start up, and we can offer them advice about charity law, constitutions. So anything that anybody wants to do in terms of community, they come to Community First, and we can signpost them to the right person. So we've got lots of different teams that, community development team, and the volunteering team. So so we do lots of different things.
Wow, that is quite a broad portfolio of things across the entire charity sector and community sector.
It's mainly Hampshire. So obviously we're focused in East Hampshire. Our office is in the SiGNAL office, as you just mentioned. So we've got another office in Havant in Lee Park. We've got one in Fareham. We've just recently merged with the New Forest in 1st of April. That was interesting, merging with another area on lockdown. That was really interesting. So they've done really well, actually. So it's been quite hard for them to come on board with a larger organisation during a pandemic. And Winchester. We've got to cover quite a big area.
That is quite a wide area.
Yeah, it is, but it's all good. Yeah, it's really, really good. Yeah.
Fantastic. And can you maybe give us an example of a project that you feel quite proud of or quite passionate about, just so we get an idea?
Yeah, sure. I mean, one of the projects that I set up was the business volunteering scheme. I've been to a couple of your meetings that you have. What are they called again? The ones, the network meetings?
BBX.
That's the one, the business exchange.
Should have been today. Should have been this morning.
Well, there you go. See, so one of my roles started 5 years ago was to work out how businesses across our communities could support the charity sector. So I started with one business in Havant, Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, probably heard of those.
Yep.
Massive pharmaceutical company. And they, over the last 5 years, they've carried out 10 volunteering days for their staff. So it's part of their CSR, Corporate Social Responsibility Programme, to support various projects within the sort of Havant area. So then that grew from that one business up into East Hants, and we work with Laleham Health and Beauty. Have you heard of them?
I have.
So they're based in Alton.
Yeah.
So they make the Body Shop products. So you'd think Body Shop make them themselves, but no, Laleham Health and Beauty make them. So
giving away trade secrets.
Oh, I know. I don't think it's a secret. So up until last year, they would be volunteering about 4 times a year with their staff, and we went to the furniture helpline. So I don't know if you've been in there where people take in their furniture. So if you've actually been in there recently and see the you can see the different dividers where people can go in and then they can, I don't know, get a bed stand and they get a mattress. So our team actually built those. So about 3 years ago. So we had the whole engineering team that wanted to give something back, and they said, how can we help? And they said we really could do with some storage. So they spent all day there. It was great, really good fun, and it was really successful. So lots and lots of ways. We work with FIFO, based in Petersfield. Have you heard of FIFO?
Oh, they're the recommendation people, is it?
So it's a bit like Trustpilot. Well, similar. That's their competitors, but they're becoming global now. And they do 2 or 3 volunteering days a year. Went to Butser Rensham Farm recently. We went to, I can't remember whether it was one in near Borden actually, but it's not coming to my mind now. This is what happened when you're on lockdown, you forget all the details. So we work with those. So any businesses that are out there, we're looking for more businesses to come on board and support the local charity. So they can do it in a number of ways. So we went to the Deadwater Valley Trust, which is based in Borden, and they did a conservation day. And in fact, some of your team came.
Yes, I remember they were chopping down bamboo.
We're down there hacking away.
We spent the day chucking it down with rain, and it was a bit cold, but they had some good fun. We also had members of the Time Bank team there, which I don't know how much you know about Time Bank, but it's a project that it's National Lottery funded. We've got a worker, Claire Coxwell, and we've recently, during lockdown, appointed 2 further workers for the coordinator's posts. Wow. And that's another interesting, they're having all of their inductions, they're currently being inducted as we speak via Zoom.
Wow.
Great.
Fantastic.
So just sort of, it's absolutely brilliant. And so that's Helen Mellows and Rachel Taylor. She's actually part of the volunteering team, but she's been seconded for 3 months. So she's normally does business volunteering. So between the 3 of them, they're working with local people in Borden, White Hill area, to look at how they can share skills.
Right.
So during COVID, during the last 10, 12 weeks, they've somebody's done a craft Zoom where they're demonstrating how they make things. And then in return, they've had a couple of people came around and did some gardening for this particular young woman. And it's just absolutely it's so brilliant. And we're actually looking for businesses to become part of Time Bank, become a member, so businesses can share things. So Stuart, you might be able to give an hour of your time to SiGNAL, which
Right.
I know you work there, but you might be able to do it for another business. And then they say, okay, we do this for you for an hour or a couple of hours, and then you're sort of banking your time. And if you didn't want to take the time back, you can put it into the community pot. So
Right.
so then people that can't afford or aren't able to give their time, they can then take it from the community pot, and it's just going so well, and it's such a fantastic project. It really is.
Yes,
It's
we
massive. Well, we've been part of it since the beginning. They sort of came on board, and I know that SiGNAL is a proud member of the Time Bank. In fact, we had Time Bank people come and help. I don't know if you've seen if people have seen the SiGNAL building, the bit out the front used to be all covered in weeds and was all horrible. And we had Time Bank come in, and they sort of stripped it back and removed all the weeds for us so that we could put shingle down. So it does work. It really does work.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely brilliant. And what did you do in return for them?
So they are members of the Biz Hub. So they have all the Biz Hub training. So it was helping them sort of expand their knowledge on everything so that they can promote themselves.
So that's essentially how it works, and we're looking for new members. And if anybody's interested, then please do contact. We could actually just go through you guys, or there is an email. I can give you a little email. It's timebank@cfirst.org.uk. So
is that SEE first or C as in community first?
C as in community, yeah.
Right, just
C
making
first.
sure that we get that right.
So
it's a little bit like a matchmaker's service. There's a company over here that wants to do something good, and there's a charity over here that needs some help. And Community First does that.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So, I mean, it's kind of like a sort of, like the way I like to explain it, it's like a twist on volunteering. So the true traditional sense of volunteering is about you give your time to make new friends, give something back. Where you might volunteer for a couple of hours a week for the same organisation. But what we're finding now is a lot of people haven't got the time. People are time poor. So we need to look at ways of how people can give something back differently. So time banking is a really good way of doing that. And it is exactly in your geographical area. So it's spot on, really.
Fantastic. I just love the idea that the community is coming together to support each other. The commercial community is taking an interest in the charitable sector and the community sector, and is putting something back without going, we need payment for that. So I love that. I really do.
Exactly.
And a lot of businesses, historically have tried to do this by either doing pro bono work or trying to help by making donations. But this is actually hands-on, actually doing stuff, and I love that. Exchange of skills.
I mean, another example of how that worked is when we did our Deadwater Valley Volunteering Day. Time Bank members actually came along. There were 6 of them, and one young woman called Alicia, I'm sure she won't mind me mentioning her. She actually did. I did an interview with her last Friday outside the community centre, Forest Community Centre, and she was so nervous and was really, really worried about doing it. But my goodness, it was amazing. So you might have seen it. We put it on Twitter and everything.
Oh, do share that with us. We'll share it back out.
We will. She was absolutely amazing. It took 4 attempts, but at the end, she was so pleased with herself for doing it. And so she's got a really strong interest in photography. So when she was on this volunteering day, excuse me, one of the business people came along, Keith Douglas, and he was having a chat with her, and he found out that she had this passion for photography, and he had an old camera lying around. And he thought, you know what, I'm just going to give it to her. So he drove over, he actually lives in Winchester. He drove over, gave her the camera, and she's now able to. So it's just little things like that.
Wow.
It's just supporting people, isn't it? And being nice.
Absolutely. I love that. I love the fact that if somebody's got some redundant kit, and we've done it in my businesses, that just give it away. I'm not interested in it. I've had the tax write-off on it, and it's still perfectly good. why scrap it? It can do some good for somebody else. Here, have it. I absolutely firmly believe that, and I know there are businesses out there that will recycle phones and get phones into the hands of people who perhaps can't afford them. So I really think that is the future of
Absolutely.
businesses that are rich enough, wealthy
Yes.
enough and affluent enough to be able to help people at no additional cost to themselves. I love
Yeah.
that when the community can come together like that.
Yeah. I mean, another example with Lalium Health and Beauty, with all of their products. I mean, obviously they're an international company. They, every Christmas for the 3 years they were working with us, they excuse me, they gave us hundreds of products to raffle for charity.
Wow.
This is just something, there might have been something dodgy on their labeling or something, just that they couldn't sell. But my goodness, what a difference that made to people. And we raised money that invested back into the good causes. So it's just
That's
another
what it's all
example.
about.
Yeah, laptops, lots of businesses, their laptops go out of date. They just think about chucking them on the scrap heap. No, there's loads of people. All the kids aren't at school at the moment. There are families out there that actually can't afford a laptop. So schools are providing, but I mean, how long are we going to be in this situation? It could be ongoing in September. So, there's a lot of people out there that need help.
Absolutely. And it's so great that Community First are there doing it. Do you have plans to expand nationwide? Is
Oh,
this?
crikey.
Well, I know. Looking forward, you seem to be, expanding.
Yeah, well, I don't think nationwide. I think, interestingly though, we do get emails and requests from all around the country for our business volunteering because it's such a good model. So, because people will Google CSR volunteering, and then we come up quite high on the hit thing.
Yeah.
Google search. So so we'll get some from Wales saying, can you come and do a day, can you organise our volunteering in Wales please? And it's like, well, by the time we get over there, so no, we're quite happy with the sort of Hampshire. I think if we get the green light from our board and chief exec that we need to sort of move into Herefordshire, Hertfordshire, then we'll do it. But at the moment we're happy with Hampshire. We have done a couple in London. We have had a request, and we can always advise as well. So where we've had other people wanting to set up business schemes, volunteering schemes in other parts of the country, then I've almost given them advice and act as a bit of a mentor for them.
Fantastic. So if there's business out there in your patch, Hampshire, how do they get in touch with you to either find out more or to raise their hand and say we'd like to help?
I think probably the best thing is to have a look at our website, which is www.cfirst.org.uk.
I will put that in the links in the comments below.
That'd be great. They can always email me, janet.duggan@cfirst.org.uk.
And that's
that's
DUGGAN.
Yeah, otherwise it's Dugan with one G. I'm not a Mrs. Dugan, so I mean, we would love to hear from people, it's really, really good. I mean, there's so many different things that we're involved with in Community First. Our community transport. We've got the biggest school contract in Hampshire. I don't know if you guys knew that.
No.
You probably notice our logo and see all the buses going past. But obviously, there's nobody going to school at the moment, so you won't see our buses. But they'll soon be up and running again.
I'm sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's fantastic to hear all that's going on and that it's all being coordinated. It's still there bubbling away. And although, lockdown, etc., has caused probably some headaches.
Yeah.
Still there.
It is still there. A lot of the businesses have sort of been taking a back seat, but I've just started to notice in the last couple of weeks that we've been contacted by some saying, what can we do? At the beginning, a few of them said, can we help? And we signposted them to our application form online, and we were inundated. We had 1,500 applications to volunteer.
Wow.
And there were 10,000 alone in Hampshire that we know of that came through, and 1 million UK wide. So just during lockdown, 1 million people came forward to volunteer.
Wow.
10,000 alone in Hampshire. So it just puts it into context, doesn't it? We've been absolutely amazed by the response. So we've been trying to, at Community First, sort of coordinate the response by signposting the sheer volume of volunteers to all the existing groups. You've probably heard of all these COVID-19 mutual aid groups that pinged up everywhere. Lots of people across the community coming together to volunteer. And they all did this off their own back with no support. So we've been sort of supporting them, signposting the volunteers to them. and, just supporting people.
That's
and we've
fantastic.
been manning a 24/7 helpline for the last 10 weeks as well.
Oh God! Wow!
So all of our staff.
Oh wow! Oh, just throw that in on top.
Yeah,
A 24/7 helpline. Been doing that.
Yeah. So all the people that have been shielded, so across Hampshire, they've gone to Hampshire County Council to a 0300 number. So if they're shielded and they haven't been able to go out, they phone that number, and then Hampshire County Council send the details of what if it's East Hampshire, it goes to the East Hampshire hub. If it's Havant, it goes to the Havant local response hub, and then they phone us and say, can you help these people? So then we send out our volunteers, or we signpost them to other volunteers, and then within an hour we've had these emergency bikers, part of the Solent bikers, smart bikers, advanced bikers team.
Yeah.
And within an hour they've collected prescriptions from the pharmacies and delivered to the people. So it's been absolutely amazing. That's something.
Applause.
That's something that we have set up in the last 10 weeks.
Oh, we could do a whole interview on that. We could.
There you go. Yeah. So we've been really busy. I've probably been busier in the last 10 weeks than I have been ever in my whole life.
I hear you.
Yeah, but it's all good, and we know we've been making a difference. So.
And it's really odd how suddenly we have a much greater respect for key workers. These people that we may have taken for granted, that it just you don't even think about. You go into a shop, you buy something, and you leave. That person is now considered to be a key worker, and everyone at SiGNAL has been battening down the hatches and keeping things moving forward and doing everything. And so, hats off to yourself and all key workers and all the charity sector and the people who have been volunteering over this past 12 weeks, because we've been making light of it, but it has been difficult for a number of people who are in impossible situations. So hats off to you, Janet, and the Community First team, and thank you for coming today and chatting to us about what you do and how people can continue to support and help their communities. Will you stick with us? We're just going to do a quick news roundup, and then it's the end of the show. I like to point out the news is not necessarily current news. It's just what I found online that I think is quite interesting.
Okay.
So a couple of weeks ago, I think it was 3 weeks ago, a man found a air raid shelter in his back garden. When he was doing some gardening, he dug down and he found this air raid shelter. Fascinating. Well, World War II is in the news again. A World War II grenade was detonated in a field by Hampshire police and the Army bomb disposal squad last week. I mean, how did that get there? Just lying around? Nobody's tripped over it or seen it in all this time, and it's there. But the one that made me giggle was the man who found a live mortar shell whilst he was doing a spring clean in his house. I mean, okay, so a hand grenade gets dropped and rolls off a guy's pack or whatever whilst they're training. Fine, I get it. But how do you end up with a live mortar shell in your house? Oh, Grandad had this during the war. What? Just
wow.
That's a bit scary.
That was in Rowledge. Sleepy Rowledge. Wow. They had to cordon it off. Bomb disposal squad, man in a big thing, taking it away, blowing it up. Incredible.
Wow.
And we had that over at Hogmore Enclosure when they actually found a massive bomb that they had to detonate. So be careful, people out there. When you come out of lockdown, World War II is still there.
Spring cleaning is dangerous.
Don't spring clean, people. Don't. But I want to end on a positive, upbeat note. I do like Mexican food. I like food. Full stop, right? But I particularly like Mexican food, and it really annoys me that we don't have more Taco Bells in this country, because I would be the size of a house, but that's another point. But the Taco Brothers, Hermandos Tacos, are back in Farnham. Ladies and gentlemen, get yourself down there. Don't worry about McDonald's or Burger King. Get yourselves down to the taco truck outside the William Cobbett pub. You can buy a 4-pack of tacos for a tenner and go in the pub and get a beer. Well, there's the thing on the outside. I'm not suggesting people drink and drive. I am not suggesting that for one moment. I'm just saying for a little treat, they do 4 different types of tacos, one of which is I know for sure is vegetarian/vegan. So get yourself down there and celebrate being able to go out and buy fast food by supporting a little local, because they've been doing a lot of support work for NHS workers and feeding people in the community. So that's one of the reasons why I thought it was appropriate to give them a shout out. And if you're listening, guys, if this makes this way into your social media, or you come across it, thank you so much for the fantastic food and for feeding these people. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is it. That's all we've got time for. We're at the end of the show, Gareth.
Thank you for listening.
We'll be here this time next week. We have a yet as unconfirmed guest, so no announcement on that. But we do have James Charles on the 3rd week of July, as Gareth pointed out. Thank you very much, Janet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gareth. See you here next week.
Thank you.
All the best.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.